What price are you willing to pay for your freedom? What about the freedom of future generations? As Nicaraguan Bishop Rolando Álvarez once put it, his generation had to win its freedom from communist rule at the price of persecution and pain. That was back in 1990, when the Central American nation voted out Daniel Ortega and his Soviet-aligned Sandinista government. Tragically, Bishop Álvarez is now living through his second nightmarish round of communist tyranny under Ortega, who returned to power in 2007. Bishop Álvarez is currently in forced exile after spending 500 days illegally detained in Nicaragua because he refused to be intimidated into silence. My name is Cristina Yelkrem. I serve as legal counsel for Latin America for ADF International and lead lawyer on the bishop's case before the Inter-American Human Rights System. The Ortega regime is systematically dismantling basic human rights in Nicaragua, brutally cracking down on dissent. The police have attacked protesters, jailed political opponents, and shut down independent media. The regime also has persecuted the Catholic Church, the last independent institution standing in the country. Nicaraguan authorities have arbitrarily arrested priests and seminarians, subjecting them to baseless criminal prosecution and convicting them without evidence. Authorities also forced the exile of entire religious communities and systematically banned public worship. Nicaraguan police have also forced the closure of church-related institutions such as universities, schools, and media outlets. Ortega himself has referred to the peaceful clergy of the Catholic Church as coup leaders, assassins, terrorists, and sons of the devil. Their crime? Preaching freedom and justice according to Christian values. The Catholic Church in Nicaragua has spoken out regarding these aggressions, making clear that the regime has conducted religious persecution. Following the regime's violent crackdown in 2018, the Catholic Church was asked to mediate the national dialogue between the Nicaraguan government and civil society. Bishop Álvarez was one of the church leaders who participated in these negotiations. When the negotiations failed and the government began to harass the opposition in the church itself, Álvarez began to preach about the freedoms God has given us, denouncing the abuses of the regime. Before long, the police began following him and harassing his family. In May 2022, he announced he would go on a hunger strike until the harassment stopped, but it only got worse. The government barred him from celebrating Mass, placed him under house arrest, and charged and convicted him in a sham trial he didn't even know was happening. The charges against him included undermining national integrity and propagation of false news. The regime then declared him a traitor, stripped him of his citizenship, sentenced him to 26 years and 4 months in prison, and fined him nearly $5,000. Through it all, Bishop Álvarez remained firm in his witness to the Christian message. On January 14, 2024, the Nicaraguan government announced it was expelling the bishop from the country and sending him to the Vatican. At the current time, he is unable to return to Nicaragua and exercise his basic human right to religious freedom. All effective means of legal recourse in Nicaragua have been exhausted. ADF International has filed a petition with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to demand that Nicaragua be condemned for the human rights violations perpetrated against the bishop. Courage is contagious. It inspires and emboldens others to speak the truth, even at great cost to themselves. And Bishop Álvarez's courage poses a clear threat to the Ortega regime. It's been more than 30 years since the Iron Curtain fell, bringing the promise of freedom to so much of the communist world. Yet censorship continues to show across the world, and it's far from confined to authoritarian regimes. In Finland, for example, a long-standing member of parliament has faced over 4 years of criminal prosecution for expressing her Christian beliefs on marriage and human sexuality. In Mexico, both a congressman and former congressman were convicted of gender-based political violence for publicly disagreeing with gender ideology. And in the US, despite landmark victories for the First Amendment, we continue to see state governments seeking to silence or coerce speech. Bishop Álvarez's words ring true. Freedom is always won at the price of persecution and pain. His witness should both inspire and provoke us. What is freedom worth to us? For more stories like this, visit adflegal.org/freedommatters. Before you go, like this video and subscribe so you don't miss another episode.